February 12th, 2016. Let's catch up on some news, shall we? Syrian war pause plan agreed by world powers. The halt will not apply to the battle against jihad groups and al-Nusra. Full context. Communique of the ceasefire plan in Syria. Humanitarian access to these most urgent areas will be a first step towards full, sustained, and unimpeded access throughout the country. The race to Raqqa is on. To keep its unity, Syria must win. To leave Raqqa and the eastern oil fields to the United States would be a devastating loss. America's endless wars. America's grand fantasy of a project for a new American century has experienced a serious setback. How republics perish. The prospect of this free republic enduring is, well, doubtful. Are Americans too insolent to survive? The conclusion is unavoidable that the insolent American people are being prepared for war. The internet and social fragmentation, whether America has ever had freedom of speech or a free press, can be debated. The Clintons earned over $3.5 million in paid addresses to Israeli organizations. Bill Clinton said he would grab a rifle and fight for Israeli during a paid speech. Financial oligarchy versus feudal aristocracy. Wage slaves describe the vast majority of people in today's capitalist societies whose sole means of substance is the sale of their capacity to work. It takes a Greek to save Europa. Considering the current intellectual void all across Europa, Varoufakis at least is speaking up. The Torpor? I don't know what that means. Syria crisis plan, cessation of hostilities, humanitarian airdrop, peace talks laid out in Munich. Russia is counting on the US and other ISSG countries to put pressure on the Syrian opposition to cooperate with the UN. What Medvedev never said. Reuters misquotes Russian Prime Minister on New World War. The report referred to a German translation of his words, which is incorrect and implies that Russia is warning that a full-scale war between leading world powers may be ignited from the Syrian conflict. Saudi Arabia confirms plans to send troops to Syria to fight the ISIS they created out of their ideology and money, The announcement, reported by the Saudi-owned news organization Al Arabiya, comes after several weeks of rumors the Gulf state would lead troops in Syria. Carter says United Arab Emirates will put special forces in Syria. Assad vows to retake whole country, warns could take a long time. Speaking Thursday in Damascus. Without hesitation, means that the solution will take a long time and will incur a heavy price. The US allies not fighting CIA-backed rebels. Iraqi militias who once fought ISIS with US help are now working with Russia and Iranian forces to crush American-backed rebels in the strategic Syrian city of Aleppo. China rules out joining anti-terrorism coalition, says helping Iraq. China won't take part in the coalition fighting terrorist groups in the Middle East, but it will do its fair share on its own way and is already helping Iraq, Wang Yi said Friday. Russia concerned over terrorists' attempt to destabilize Lebanon. The Russian side confirmed the consistent line between supporting sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of Lebanon. Iraqi Prime Minister has won back half of ISIS-held territories. The area we have liberated so far is more than half of what was occupied by Daesh before, he said, using the Arab term for the militant group. Yemeni forces kill 20 Saudi soldiers in Jizan, killed in their attempt to take back control of the strategic Jabal al-Dud district in Jizan from the Yemeni forces was thwarted. Palestinian teens face indefinite Israeli detention. Amnesty International is demanding the release of 17-year-old Palestinian Mohammed al-Hashlamoun, who was been sentenced to 6 months of detention without charge or trial in Israeli by the occupation forces. 36 militants killed in Afghanistan operations in the last 24 hours. The Afghan National Security Forces carried out military operations in the country. At least 27 Boko Haram fighters killed cross border by Cameroon soldiers. 2 UN soldiers killed in Mali attack. Masked gang of 7 men arrested near Calais for attacking Iraqi refugees with iron bars. France to evict almost 1,000 migrants from jungle near Calais. EU is poised to restrict passport-free travel. The European Union countries are poised to restrict the travel, invoking an emergency rule to impose controls over borders for 2 years because of the migration crisis. Cruel deportations of kids. The US and UK are sending refugees back to where they may be killed, Human Rights Watch said. The deportations are cruel and disturbing and violate international law. 800 Greek farmers storm agricultural ministry in Athens. Police fire tear gas. And you can watch the video. Statement by Swedish doctors for human rights on Sweden's rejection of the UN ruling on the arbitrary detention of Julian Assange. After nearly 6 years, all main deceptions in the illegal prosecution initiated by Sweden against Mr. Assange are now widely exposed. Court overturns order keeping Fast and Furious documents secret. A federal appeals court on Friday overturned a lower court ruling that kept a lid on the hands of the documents related to a lawsuit over Congress over Obama administration's botched Fast and Furious operation. That's where they sent tons of weapons to the Mexico militias. Bill introduced to end the draft. A bipartisan group of 14 congressmen introduced by a bill Thursday that would abolish the Selective Service System, more commonly known as the draft. The Democratic National Convention rolls back Obama ban on contributions from federal lobbyists. The decision was viewed as a disappointment Friday morning by good government activists who saw it as a step backwards in an effort to limit special interest influence in Washington. Some suggest it could provide an advantage for Hillary Clinton's efforts. Sanders calls out Clinton on taking advice from Henry Kissinger. Sanders voiced his strong opposition to Hillary Clinton's relationship with Kissinger, who handpicked Obama out of college and is overdue for war crimes in Chile and East Timor. Persecution on. Noam Chomsky praises Sanders but says Democrats must win at all costs. Noam Chomsky wants to see a Democratic candidate, Bernie Sanders, in the White House come November. Chomsky believes Bernie Sanders the best policies. And Chomsky's got some problems, but yep, Gary Johnson.